And then you can go for it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome and thank you for being here. I appreciate your volunteerism and Happy New Year. So we're the class of 21-22 and we have some work to do. We need to get excited about leading our clubs and bringing ourselves out of this pandemic and staying engaged with each other in friendship and fellowship and trying to understand the needs of our community and try to understand the needs of the world. Because Rotary teaches us that to serve someone else is the most important thing that we are challenged to do. So these are certainly some challenging times. And we're going to get on our way because we're going to think about a plan. You're going to think about a vision. You're going to have a wish list, and it's okay to have a really big wish list. I have a very large wish list for all of us. And we might get to some of the things, we might not. But setting some goals is so very important in your planning because it gives you direction. Your club members count on you for direction. They count on you for your strength, for your encouragement. Now we know that Rotary International President-elect Shaker wants 1.3 million Rotarians. He's concerned about foundation. He's concerned about polio. And as we move along, when I come back from International Assembly on February 11th, the 1st through the 11th is my final training. I'll have a better picture of what he envisions in the year that he is in office. But I look forward to the challenges put before us. I look forward to planning our Rotary year together and meeting goals. Now, you know, Rotary has a theme every month. January is Vocational Service Month. So maybe you tie some things to that. Each month has a different theme, but you need to plan your meetings, and Allison's going to give you some great tips on how to do that. So I'm going to turn it back to Allison. And again, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. So today I have a bunch of resources and things I'm going to share with you. And so just to kind of give you the lay of the land of what we are going to cover tonight, I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And here we go. So the first tonight, we already heard from District Governor-elect Mary Oftenkamp with some great words about our year. I'm going to talk to you about leading your club and leading effective meetings and share with you some resources that were helpful to me. It might be a little bit of a therapy session of what I went through as club president, hoping to give you some input and advice there. I'm going to just go over the One Rotary Summit event. We're going to talk to you about pets, and this is President-elect's training, but typically in March, there's a more larger concentrated training effort, and that will be happening this year, although it will look a little different. We're going to share with you a really exciting way for you to win a trip to the Houston Rotary International Convention in 2022, and then just talk through some resources and wrap up. So what I want to start off with first is we're talking a little bit about organization. And so I'm just going to do a quick poll. I want to know what best describes your organizational style. So when you've got a task in front of you and you need to get something done, what best describes how you like to organize? So I just launched the poll, so take a minute and answer. And I will fully admit these are probably not the only choices possible, but just pick the one that most goes with your style. And yes, this is an anonymous poll, so we will not be checking your answer mid-year next year to see how things go.
I'm sure it takes a while to get all of them in too, right?
Yeah, right. Okay, we're getting close. Got 20 out of 24. And I know sometimes depending on the device you're on, it can be hard to see. If you're on a mobile device, it might be difficult to see the poll question. So I'll go ahead and end here and share the results. So of our answers tonight, we have 60% say that they are priority masters. They're great at figuring out what needs to be done and tackling the most urgent first. 3 people say they are overly prepared. They take the time to figure things out completely before moving forward. And 25% are last minute. Do your best work at the 11th hour. I can kind of relate to that one. Although I
Sometimes
think,
that's just how it goes.
right. I like to think all my work's the best work, but it seems like there are things that end up. So the reason I wanted to talk about the organizational style is that one thing that isn't talked a lot about in Rotary trainings is just the reality that leading your club is going to take some work and effort and time in your week. So you're not going to be able to just, 15 minutes before your club meeting, stop and prepare for that meeting. You're going to need to take some time throughout the week to think about what are your Rotary priorities for that week, and then make a plan to accomplish them. Because I will say that being a last minute person in Rotary sometimes means that you then have to do the work all by yourself, because the people you're leading are all volunteers. And so if you need help from somebody, and they are busy with work or family or whatever is going on, you might not be able to contact them 30 minutes before the club meeting and get done what you need to get done. I've found in my time in Rotary that things in Rotary seem to take about twice as long as they would take me in my professional world. In my professional world, I can tell an employee to do something and it's probably done within 2 to 3 days, if that's a reasonable time frame. But in the Rotary world, people are working around circumstances that they don't always have control over. So as club president, when you want to accomplish something large, think about how long you think it's going to take, and then maybe add another 2 weeks on either side of it, just so that you're not disappointed and that you're working with a realistic time frame. I sent as an email attachment today, and I'm going to pull it up, an example of an 18-month planner. And I found this to be very helpful before I became club president. Was I really thought I wanted to see what the rhythm of my year was going to look like as club president, and a rhythm of my club. Because unless you're a club that just does something different every single year, you likely have some things that just always happen at a certain time. There's certain things in the Rotary world on the district level that just always happen at a certain time. So if you have a big initiative, or you have a new service project or a new fundraiser that you want to roll out next year, if you don't actually look at the rhythm of your club and how that count goes in a calendar year, it might be challenging for you to get that done. I'm going to share my screen here. And does everybody see a Microsoft Word document? Just give me a thumbs up if you see it. Okay. So this is an example of what I sent out today. If I can make it a little bigger. And it goes 18 months. So it starts with this month and goes all the way through. And what I hope you will do is print this out or type on it however you want to, but just start organizing what you think needs to be done in your Rotary world by the month. So February, what I typed in red would be just kind of a sample of my own club, some of the things that we do. So I just wanted to sort of show you that in each month there's a theme. Mariator talked about that this month's theme is vocational service. So you could do something in the month of January to highlight the professions of your members, or talk about a vocational training program in your community. Rotary sets these themes out just to kind of give you some organization or some inspiration for how you might incorporate these topics in the course of a Rotary year. So as I start looking, the first 6 squares on here, you're not club president yet, but you're preparing to be club president. And so this is an important time for you to really start to think about, maybe one month is doing a small board retreat and getting your current president and yourself, which I know, Brian, you in Loudonville, that's you and you, so you can't both be doing it. But in many clubs, you have a president right now, and you could work together to do a board retreat to figure out what are you going to do starting in July. In June, our club always has a charter night and an installation of officers, so I know that's happening. July might be an ice cream social. We might have a board retreat in August with a new board. We always have a golf outing in September. We usually do a polio event in October. In November, I might want to do a Paul Harris campaign, and we always do a Thanksgiving drive for our local food pantry. In December, we have our election of officers and our holiday party. In January, we always do a leadership series where we have speakers talk about leadership. February is our typical live auction fundraiser. Hopefully by February 2022, we can actually have that. So all of this is meant to do is just to be a tool for you to get a visual of what you might want to accomplish in the course of the year. and what might be a good time to do that. So I hope that that is a helpful tool for you as you get going and prepare for your year. So just a quick question you can unmute and answer. What kinds of meetings are you going to be leading as club president that you believe you'll be leading next year? I know.
Other than the regular weekly meetings,
Yeah.
board meetings,
Yes.
some fundraising meetings.
Yes.
That's about it. When all of them are on Zoom, that's about all we can do.
Right. I would say the two most important things you're going to be leading as a club president would be your weekly club meeting and your board meeting. And so both of those meetings, one happens probably weekly for most all of you, and one happens, maybe once a month. Does anybody meet at a different frequency than once a month for their club board? I think that's fairly standard. There are a few boards who don't meet as regularly, but like my club, we can't approve bills unless we have a board meeting to vote on them. So people be paid once a month at least. So we do that. So both of those meetings are going to need plan. And it sounds silly, but making sure that you get an agenda and the materials out in advance is really important. So you might have your own version of this. I was just going to pull up, hopefully quickly I can pull up a copy of, let's see. So this is an example of one of my board meeting agendas. I put it in order of the way things needed to happen, which was the new business, and anything that required a vote was listed. I clearly wrote, you need to.
I am still seeing a calendar, Allison.
Are you?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Let me.
Maybe it's just me, but
It's probably not.
No, I'm seeing it too.
Okay. Will you give me one more shot? Here we go.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. Okay.
Ta-da.
Good.
Here's the board meeting agenda. This, again, I did it in this order. Your board meetings might work in a different order, but I do think you can't really be clear enough sometimes because you have new board members coming on that might not know what the rules are. So we typically put what needs to be voted on, and in parentheses, it was the board member who was going to be presenting that. And then I like to have a portion of all of my board meetings that were not just the business, but like a discussion. So you see, I had 4 discussion items that we were talking about, some of which were, little updates, and some of which that month membership was a larger discussion and strategic planning meetings. So we went into those items there and then adjourned. And what I also put in there was information items included in the reports. So these were the reports. And then after that, we put all of the dates that were kind of important that were coming up for the next couple of months. And the thing is once you start and do this agenda and you have some of the dates listed out, you're not reinventing the wheel every single month. Every month we approved last month's minutes. Every month we approved financials and payables. Every month we had some of these meetings at the bottom. We just had to simply update the date. And so this might be something that your secretary does. I'm not saying that you need to be the person doing this, but making sure that everybody understands the agenda really helps to keep your meetings on track and efficient and professional. And you may want to, if you're a board who really likes to have fun together and socialize, you may want to just build that into the agenda. So everybody knows the first 15 minutes is our social time. And then the last the last portion of the meeting is going to be for real business. So that is just an example. And again, I will share my examples. And if anyone else has other examples and you'd like to send them to me by email, I'm happy to compile them for us so that we can kind of share them. Again, this isn't the only resource, but I just want to make sure that we're thinking about the different ways that we can inform our club members and our board members of what's happening. I will say, how many on the call have been a club president before? I know we've got some assistant governors and things that raise your hands. My inside advice is that if there's going to be something spicy happen at Rotary, it usually happens at that board meeting. Like if you're going to have discontent, it usually happens there, not at your club meeting setting. So the people sitting around that board table tend to be very involved with your club, very knowledgeable, maybe have strong opinions about things. So you do the reason for the agenda is to sort of keep that on track and realize, when you need to maybe step away from a topic because it's not on, the agenda for this month. I also really believe it's a great idea to invite club members to join your board meeting. That's totally fine. But you do have the right as the president to keep those meetings on track. So if there's people that are, really distracting or adding commentary that's not needed, you want to keep it to professional club business, because that is what your club board was elected to do, is to keep, the club business going. So anybody have any questions about board meetings? I've heard that there are board meetings that go like 3 and 4 hours. So I would just warn you that I think that's way too long. Now, some of those I've heard included alcohol, which might be the reason they went long.
Yeah.
Our club board meeting was always at 7 a.m. So there was no funny business. There was coffee and breakfast, and that seemed to keep everything going on track. But we were really solidly out the door by 8 o'clock, which was nice. People were going to work then. So I kind of liked that time of day, because sometimes at the end of the day, people figure you don't have anything else going on, which isn't really a fair comment either. So that is just a little bit about club board meetings. And you may have certain things in your club board that need to happen at certain times. So be sure you check in with your secretary or a seasoned member to make sure you understand, when do your club elections happen? And so for us, our club elections happen in December. I might know that if I'm an incoming board member, but I might not know that in the November meeting, our club board actually has to approve the slate of officers before they go to our full club in December. So just kind of understanding what needs to happen. Oftentimes on July 1st, you need to approve new check signers for your bank account and go to the bank and switch all of that. So if you haven't done that, or if, I don't know what your club's procedures, but that usually needs to happen July 1st too. So understanding kind of the board business and that calendar works too. And you might want to use that 18-month calendar for that purpose too. Okay, I'm going to share another document, and you're going to tell me if it looks like a meeting agenda and not what I just showed you. Here we go. Okay, should say 4/12/19. This is kind of like a trip down memory lane for me to look at all these things. So I had been attending my Rotary Club meetings for like 12 years when I became president. You would think I knew every little bit about the way a club meeting was supposed to work and the order of things and what I needed to do. But I will tell you that when it came down to leading a club meeting, there was things I forgot like almost every time. I would forget who was supposed to do the prayer and pledge, or I'd forget to get the sergeant at arms up to do the fine master. And part of it is just, as club president in-person meetings especially, you kind of get people coming at you with questions, or they want to make an announcement. So you're taking notes here. But one thing I really tried to do was write out this agenda beforehand and make sure that I understood what the elements were and who was helping me with them. So for instance, this was kind of the order that we did most weeks, was our call to order. The prayer and pledge, my sergeant at arms would tell me when I got to the meeting, so I'd handwrite that in then. Again, a reminder to introduce guests and visiting Rotarians. And then I had my announcements. And I really tried to make sure that I didn't have an obscene amount of announcements. Now, this one is maybe a bad example, but I honestly tried to keep my announcements to 3 things, because I felt that it was difficult for people to remember a whole bunch of things. So I'd really tried to keep them as tight as possible with the reminders on there. I did something called a question of the week and a fast 5, which I'll show you a little bit later. Fine master, our program, and if I had bio information for the program, I would actually include it here. This particular week, another member was introducing them, so I didn't need to read their bio. And then some of the other items we do, we always end with the 4-way test. So I found this to be super helpful to do something like this and have it printed in front of you. My guess is that your club, somebody that was a club president before you already has it. And has been using something like this. Maybe somebody does it on a note, but thinking through those elements a few days ahead of your meeting will really benefit you, because one thing you want to do is make sure you invite a lot of people from your club to participate in elements of your meeting. They don't really want to hear you the entire year. It's good to get other faces involved. And that includes if you're doing a Zoom meeting, making sure other members have a prominent position in helping with your Zoom meeting. How many people are still meeting virtually only? Like, we're still only virtual. So it is a bit of a challenge to do both things, but including people is great. A couple weeks ago, I spoke at the Rotary Club of Gainesville, Florida, and they do a hybrid model where some people were in a museum, kind of a big banquet room in a museum. Others were on Zoom. And I was really impressed that they had people like the person who did the fellowship fines, that person was on Zoom, but then they had a sergeant at arms in the audience who was doing fines and not fines, they were doing song leading. This club sings. So I thought it was good that the president had different people who were doing different parts of the meeting. So I thought that was good. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath here because I've been spewing a lot. So the other thing I want to say or share with you is an example of a weekly slideshow. Now, not all of the clubs have to have audio visual. And so the reason I'm going through the slideshow is not to be like, oh, look how awesome the slideshow is, and you should definitely do one. I want to show you some elements of a club meeting that you might consider using, or that might spark your creativity to think of some things that you could do to liven up your meetings. I am hearing over and over that while it's great to see each other on Zoom, people are tired of this. They don't want to be on this call for an hour and a half tonight, and you will not be on this call for an hour and a half. People are feeling fatigued. They are having to multitask because I know just even in my own profession, I'm finding now, because I don't have any travel time in between client meetings, I can have a whole day where I might have 45 minutes where I'm not on Zoom from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. And really, I mean, that is not good for anybody. So we do have to think, whether we're in person or on Zoom, about ways that we can be really dynamic and exciting and add energy to our club members and give them value for their experience. And that might mean networking in breakout rooms during every meeting. I think about the tables of 6 to 8 that we had in our club meetings. That was sort of that fellowship time. Well, while you're waiting for latecomers on Zoom to arrive, or you're waiting for people in your audience to arrive, why not break them out into 3 or 4 breakout rooms where they can discuss what's happened that week? Maybe you give them a specific, hot topic question that they can talk about, like, what was the last movie you watched? And go through there. Yeah, Brian wants to paint his fingernails purple. Mine are purple. There's a lot of creative ways I think you can still connect on Zoom without being the same old. So I'd encourage you to do that. So I'm going to take you through one of my slideshows I did. And here's where I would say, of that procrastinating style, I'm probably doing the most work at the 11th hour kind of girl. And so that was bad though, as far as these slideshows, because it all landed on me. I had other people in my club who probably could have helped, but sometimes I wasn't sure where I was going with everything until the day before. But I got smarter, because early on in the Rotary year, every single week, every slide was brand new. And then I got to this like, okay, I'm going to look at a month at a time. And so while a few things might change week to week, I had a first landing slide that stayed the same. I had a couple slides for birthdays and anniversaries where instead of putting the people's birthdays and anniversaries on it, I just reused the slide and then I said their names in person because they were also on another document, like our weekly newsletter. So I got smarter by the end of the year, and I hope you will too. There's a marketing term called COPE, which is create it once and publish it everywhere. So I really encourage you to, do something one time and figure out a variety of different means where you can share that. So here we go. I'm going to try to get this up. And we will go through what a weekly slideshow looked like. Okay. Go back here. Okay, so here was for the whole month of May. This was my landing slide. It was a youth service month. So I used this slide over and over the whole month. And then I always had a slide reminding people that our May newsletter was up. So our May newsletter had all of the birthdays and anniversaries in it. This is on their actual table. Again, I just took the PDF and I made a copy of it. Oh, I better check the chat, make sure you guys can all see this. Are you seeing what I'm showing, the slides? Okay. So this is an example. I could use this slide over and over to remind people that the newest newsletter was on the table. This was the first month meeting of the month, and then I recognized all the birthdays for May. Now, I know some people do the week's birthdays, and that's good too. This isn't the only way to do it. Again, I'm just giving you one way. Celebrating club anniversaries. I said, we're still glad you're still here, not just here, still here, because many of them have been members for a long, long time. At this time, we were doing strategic planning sessions. And so as you can see, I reused the slide week over week. I just added a red line through the ones that had already passed. So we had done like 4 different strategic planning sessions where we gathered input from club members. And these were the 2 remaining. This was just a little recognition of some club members who had ran in the Glass City Marathon as a relay team. I thought that was cool. We had picked up some trash too that same day. And then I had just gotten back from a conference I spoke at in North Dakota. And so I was kind of sharing with them some of the pictures from the week and what I did. I reminded them about the Mesa clothing drive. That was one of my announcements. We usually bring clothing to the district conference. Reminded them about a service project we had with some other clubs. Mesa bike ride. And again, these images, I didn't have to create new every week. I just, added them, compiled. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute and talk to you about planning your work time, because this is a good place to put this. So I realized, and I don't see Ken Robinson on here right now. He's Mary's chief of staff, but one thing he was very disciplined about was was in my club and would be Sundays. He would go and work at a local coffee shop, and he was kind of his time. He did Rotary things. And so we also had a club treasurer who was very similar. He did all of his Rotary work on Saturday morning. So I decided early on that I would make Sunday night. I would take an hour and really plan my Rotary week. And then on that night, I sent out a Sunday night email to my entire club every week. And it wasn't long. It was, maybe 1 paragraph, maybe 2. This was not a huge dissertation, but just a quick reminder of what was coming up for the week. And then I always asked a question of the week with a link to a Survey Monkey. So they would click on the link, answer the question. And sometimes they were completely goofy. Sometimes they were a little more serious, but it was one thing I did. But I will really encourage you to think right now, when your club meeting is, think about your family life, and think about when is there an hour you can spend on Rotary, and really book it. Just put it in your calendar or tell your family, this is what I'm going to do. Because if you don't do that, then the Rotary week will own you, not the other way around. Usually when I took that hour, I was able to then stop and say, hey, I've got, these people I need to follow up with on this thing, knowing that this meeting's coming up, or I need to send this email. But it was putting it so that I know how my work week would have gone. All of a sudden it would have been Friday at noon when my club met, and I would have been drowning and not had time to do it, because I already told you I'm a procrastinator. And so I might not have done my slideshow on that night. That was oftentimes the last thing I did, but I really thought about who I was going to ask to do certain things and what my questions of the week were going to be. Sunday night was my time I did it. And I don't know about you, but this time of year, everybody feels very disciplined and inspired to do their very best. Everybody's the best version of themselves ever in January. But by the time May comes around, it's a little harder. And so one thing I'm very proud of is that the entire year, I did not miss one Sunday night. Even if I was traveling or with family, I sent it out every Sunday night. And I do think people appreciated it. I wasn't a perfect president, but I was consistent, and they knew I was putting into it. So I'm going to go back to my slideshow, because now the question of the week makes some sense to you. So I had this graphic as my landing slide. I used it every single week. I think maybe one time in the year I switched to a different question mark image, but that was basically what I did. And then this particular week, I asked the question, which part of the 4-way test is most meaningful to you right now? And is it the truth one? So, I had a variety of questions. If you need any ideas, I have 52 weeks of them. Again, some of them will be Perrysburg specific or weird, but I had them. Like, one thing I said is, what equates to the amount of money our foundation gave away last year, Perrysburg Rotary Foundation. And it was like the price of a house, the price of 5 Jeeps, it was, they had to kind of pick the right one. So we had some fun with it over the week. The other thing I'd let them do is put comments like other, and then they could put comments in. And sometimes I just got, or I'd say anything else you want to share, and they put it, and there were some interesting things that came up, but it was just a fun way. And people, I'm not saying that the question of the week is why they came to the meeting, but I felt like there was a connection to Rotary the whole week because they didn't find out the results until they came on Friday. And then one time I asked them their favorite Christmas carol, and they voted for their favorite Christmas carol. And then the winning Christmas carol, actually my sister, who's an opera singer, she came to the meeting and sang it. So Atan knows her. So Atan, you could actually just sing it if you do the question of the week.
I get asked to sing at our meetings frequently.
Sure, for good reason too. So yeah, that was kind of one of the fun question of the week. So, and then I always ended my meeting with the fast 5 questions. I brought a club member up to the podium. I interviewed them with 5 questions, silly things. A lot of them was like, how did you get into Rotary? What was the last book you read? Different, discussion items like that. And that was the way we ended our meeting. So, I guess I also had a picture of 4-way test. And then I ended the meeting too with Rotary chasers. These were just, called it the good stuff that makes the bad stuff go down. And I don't know, some people call these dad jokes or I don't know, bad humor here, memes, but just, it was just stuff that was either relevant or made me laugh. Sometimes they got better results than others. I like this one, I do. So that is an example of my weekly slideshow. Oh, good. I love this. Brian says the Loudonville asked the big question weekly too. I think that's a great way, especially on Zoom, to get people engaged and to get to be chatting. So with that being said, I'm going to put you guys in a couple of breakout rooms. And what I'd like you to do is just kind of brainstorm among the group some ideas of ways you can kind of keep your meetings interesting for next year, and or any organizational tips you want to share with the others about how you're planning to go about planning your year. So I'm going to move you into breakouts. We'll be in there for about 12 minutes, and you can just chat amongst yourself, get to know everyone in there. Make sure you introduce yourself, and we'll be back shortly. Actually, let me see how many we have. We'll do 3 here. Okay. Oh gosh, sorry guys. We're almost there, sorry.
Take your time, no rush.
Okay.
Here we are.
And we're starting to come back. Yay!
Yay.
I think we're all back. Good, thank you. Well, I'm curious if we could just maybe have one person from each breakout room just kind of maybe give a high level of some things that were discussed in your room, any brilliant ideas. And then I would encourage you to kind of blow up the chat here with some other ideas and things that you talked about that maybe don't make the comments. So anybody from the group that seemed like they had all the people with the name A?
Was that planned?
No.
Was that intentional?
Well, I don't know, because usually Zoom has a thing where they will just, if you say I want 3 rooms, they'll just automatically assign it out. Well, it didn't automatically assign it. That's why had to take a deep breath. So then I just panicked and did all alphabetical. So by your first name. So, so the first part of the alphabet group, any insights to share?
I'll speak. We discussed different things about meetings and virtual meetings, and I guess because we have everybody from Bob DiNardo, who's with Toledo, all the way down to Shelby. I'm not sure how many people are in Shelby, but and myself, Lorraine. What works in one doesn't work in another. We have to stay fluid. I've explained that trying to get the Governor Keith's schedule together for the last 3, 4, 5 months now with his meetings we had to be so fluid because clubs were going from place to place to place. As one place was shutting down, they had to move their club. Rotary found out how it started, moving from location to location. That's what we got back to because of COVID. So for the PEs, you're going to have to see what works in your area for this year coming up and make it work and try some new things. But you have to, we'll be fluid about it. We'll work. We'll make it work somehow. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, how about the next half of the part of the alphabet, or I guess any other group?
We were group 3. I don't think that was maybe the next half of the alphabet, but I'll go.
Thanks, Derek.
So also our group had, everybody was handling meetings currently at a little bit different way, but some good ideas shared. We all liked the breakout idea. We haven't currently tried that, and I don't think anyone has that was yet. So we like the idea of doing that to try to get some more communication going. The other thought was getting some speakers that you wouldn't normally be able to get. One suggestion was that if Rotary, even if Rotary International might be able to help, compile some sort of a list of people willing to speak, that would be really great for presidents and president-elects. So, this would be a good opportunity to get somebody that we normally wouldn't be able to get to, speak to that small of a group or in that, geographic region. So that was the other kind of main point we talked about. Some people aren't having meetings because of Zoom and the restrictions. So, that's a little different too. So hopefully they can find a way to do that as well.
Yeah, the idea about a repository of speakers, I mean, definitely when location mattered, it was a huge issue. I will say there's a Facebook group called Heart of America Zones 30 and 31. And if you join that, there's just significant amounts of people from across the Central America, I guess you might say Mid-America, the Heart of America, as the group name says. And you could comment in there, does anybody know a great speaker about polio? And you might be able to get some people. Just like, the fact that I spoke at the Rotary Club of Gainesville, like, it's not like I'm anybody special to them, but they just haven't heard me. They haven't seen me at a district conference. They haven't seen me to training. So I'm like new. So, and I would have down there if they would have paid me, but or paid for me to go, but they were able to get me, just like we've been able to get speakers from various places because of doing things on Zoom. So yeah, I think looking at the bright side of that is good. So okay, I guess the last group, whatever group that is, a bold person.
I just took notes. We talked about book lists, fast 5 3-minute bios, and yeah, we talked about sharing program lists as well. I think we were the quiet group.
Okay. Well, interestingly, I do have a quick another question related to quietness and speaking. So I wonder I'm going to launch this. I wonder, how comfortable are you with speaking in public? So just take a minute to answer that. Well, here's our results. This is good news.
Mhm.
Or enjoy it and don't shy away from it. It's good when you're club president. Many of you say you communicate well. Some say you'd rather avoid it, but you'll do it. And thankfully, nobody said we won't do it at all. So good. As one of the parts of your training for all Ohio Pets, you'll get some information from Toastmasters about speaking publicly too. So look forward to sharing that. And really, all these ideas and things that were things I did, they don't work in every club. They don't work if your personality doesn't lend to that. The big point here is to make sure that you have put some amount of effort into your weekly meeting, because it will pay off. People feel your energy, no matter what that energy looks like, and they'll respond to it and be more engaged in your meeting if you give them things to do as part of the meeting and you make some excitement and don't make it every single week the same. So that's the main things I'd like.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so we've talked about planning on a granular level. That's kind of your club meetings and your board meetings. These are very granular. We talked about the 15-month plan. That's even higher level than those weekly meeting agendas and things that you're doing. And then the one other resource I wanted to make sure we talked about was a strategic plan, because there is a good, sure I have it up here. There's a good resource through Rotary International about doing a strategic planning guide. And so if you're kind of at a loss as to where to start with this, I know I've done them professionally and with other nonprofits. Sometimes to go through and recreate the wheel on that becomes a little challenging. So I just encourage you, Rotary has a strategic planning guide. It gives you a process, the phases to go through. It actually gives you places you can just type in exactly what you come up with. So you could really have your club board and some club leaders and go through this: strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and challenges in the community. What do we want our club to be like? Working through vision statements. How can we achieve our vision and our priorities? This may not be something that you can do in just one meeting. You may need to plan several sessions. As you could see in my slideshow, one thing I did various times to do small groups discussions, because I wanted to get as much input as possible. You really want to make sure when you're thinking about a strategic plan, you're the president for 1 year or maybe 2, that you get the input of younger members who are going to be in the club and be the next club leaders, or members with a lot of experience. I think the best thing about a strategic plan is to have a diversity of opinions. And so if you need a place to start for a strategic plan, this is a great place to go. Other thing I wanted to show and make sure, are you seeing an image that says lead your club?
Yep. Yeah.
Over and over, this manual, which is often printed, right now you have a digital version of this. This has so much content in it for you about planning weekly meetings, running your meetings, running assemblies, talking about the governor's visit. And so while I have you all here and can tell you, when Mary comes to your club as the speaker for her official visit, she is the only speaker. So don't book another nonprofit, don't book another business community leader. As part of what she does as her preparation for district governor, she's going to be preparing remarks that she wants every Rotarian to hear in the district. So just make sure that she is the speaker. Nearly every district governor will tell you that they showed up at least one club meeting, and there was another speaker booked too. So it's hard, but we're telling you now, make sure that Mary is your only presentation when she is the visitor. There's information in here about the strategic plans, and this document, I think actually in a way the digital version is better, because it might reference something like planning your year on chapter 1. Right in there is the link to the strategic planning guide that I just showed you. So the digital version might honestly be better than the paper version, because all these hyperlinks are live and will take you exactly where you need to for your resource. The Learning Center courses, Rotary strategic plan overall there, how you can set your goals. So this document, just, keep it saved and use it when you need to find other information. Okay, so the next thing, I think that's kind of the meat of the topic tonight, but we have some other really cool things we wanted to share with you. And first, Mary, do you want to give a little update about the March Pets experience and what the PEs can expect?
Sure, I can do that. Thank you, Allison. I hope everyone found the information tonight to be very valuable. It's the key steps so that we can move forward, and I have faith that we're going to do great. So our district is a very giving district, and we're very organized. We have a very strong foundation in District 6600, and we really believe in training our president-elects well. So as a gift, the district always paid for you as president-elect to attend what is called All Ohio Pets. Well, this year, of course, we cannot be face-to-face in Columbus, so we're doing things a little differently. And then we used to do this thing called pre-pets from like 9 to 3 or 10 to 3 on that Friday morning. Well, instead of doing that, I'm going to take you all to some place called Mega Pets. And we're going to visit with 13 other districts. We're going to have a wonderful opening keynote speaker who will be the first woman Rotary International president. She'll talk for about 45 minutes. She'll get us excited and motivated about Rotary and moving forward. Then we're going to have a virtual social, and you're going to be able to network. Maybe you're going to make friends with somebody from Michigan or Ontario, Canada, and think of a project to do together. This is a really wonderful opportunity, and I want to give you the largest footprint that we possibly can as we are isolated here in Zoom meetings. Then after that virtual social, we're going to sign off. Then the next day, between 2 and 3, you're going to be sitting in on a panel discussion with speakers that talks about diversity, equality, and inclusiveness. And this is something that's very serious in our world and very serious for Rotary. And I think we need to really have an understanding of this as we think of Rotary as an organization that promotes peace, goodwill, and understanding always. So then after that evening, 6 to 8, you're back with All Ohio Pets. And there will be breakout sessions with you to engage with other president-elects in the state of Ohio. And then the next day, you'll have other speakers and other training models. And then we'll also have the Rotary International President, Shaker, as one of our keynote speakers. And then we will end that session, and that will conclude your major training pieces for All Ohio Pets and Mega Pets. This is something that is required for you to be a president-elect, that you have to have this final training step. And then the next time we're together for a training piece would be a recap when we do the district assembly in May, and we vote on the budget that I'm currently putting together. So all of these things are very important for you to have a successful year. Allison and I are both here to help in any way to make sure that goes well for you. So I'm excited for the Mega Pets opportunity, and I'm also excited for All Ohio Pets as we engage with just the 4 other districts in the state of Ohio. Your turn, Allison.
Yeah, perfect. I think that Mary and I are going to be like your Zoom tour guides for those 3 days. So we'll be sure you know what links to do and what times as it gets going in those events. I think probably some we will register you for directly, and some you may need to register on a website for. So look for the All Ohio Pets registration soon. And as Mary and I have been talking, if there is any feasible way for us to safely gather as a group of president-elects before the end of before July 1st, we will certainly do it. So once we can be back outside or more people are vaccinated, it's hard right now to say, mark your calendar for May 15th and we'll all be together like what would be a Pets experience in Columbus. But we will at some point make sure you guys can lock arms and see each other and connect as a class.
Yeah.
The other thing that Mary has planned for us that I think is going to be super exciting is she has a little contest for all of you. So Mary, if you want to give them your vision for the contest, and then I can kind of go briefly over the details that I'll be emailing out.
Sure. Well, you know, I like little contests, little goals, little fun things. And I think some of our clubs have been very generous in their budget that they would put forth money toward you going to an international convention. But, you know, budgets may be changing because of how things are going. So I'm not sure those clubs that offer that opportunity that will continue. So I thought it would be really nice for someone to receive round trip airfare and your registration for an international convention. An international convention is something that really takes your breath away, to see 40,000 Rotarians all there because we all believed in the same thing, and see all the good works that people do from all over the world. So there is a point structure available, and when it comes time for changing of the guard, one name will be drawn, and that person knows that their registration for Houston, which will be June 4th through the 8th of 2022. That is 17 months from now. I believe that we will be back together. Now, you know, the Hawaii convention, that was virtual. That got canceled because of COVID. And right now, Taiwan, we're not sure that that's going to happen. That might be a hybrid situation. That's in June. But I really have faith that come time for Houston, 17 months from now, we will all be together and it will be a great convention in Houston, Texas. And my vision is for us to take, you know, some of our grant projects there, our Mesa display, and really, really have a great time in Houston. So you would be flying along down there and hopefully you would experience something that would really be memorable in Rotary. Back to you, Allison.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things about the Rotary Convention, and if you've been to other conventions, sometimes it's like your days are so packed, you really don't see much other than the convention center and your hotel room. These are not like that. Most of the time, there's a large opening session in the morning or late morning. And then the rest of the day, you have time to kind of connect. There might be some optional evening events or breakouts that you can do, but we had a lot of time in Toronto when that was the one I attended, to just kind of see sites and connect with each other and have group dinners. And it really was super fun. And then just, it's an amazing experience to look on either side of you and see people from other countries and other languages. It kind of really puts in perspective all we're trying to do.
One more thing, Allison, I forgot to mention the speakers. I mean, who did we hear in Toronto? Barbara Bush. Who did I hear in Atlanta? The Bill Gates and Jack Nicklaus. And who else? Ashton Kutcher. I mean, everybody had a platform of something they were talking with. And to be in a conference where these are your keynote speakers, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. And I know Houston will have a great lineup too for us.
So it's definitely worth putting the effort so that you can get entries. So the way that District Governor-elect Mary has asked us to work on this is that certain things that you need to do anyway to become a president you're going to be given entries for completing those things. And so I'm just going to share my screen here just so you can see a bit of this document. We'll email it out to you. You may not complete every single category. That's okay, but this will be your checklist to kind of keep track of things. We've got things like 5 entries for making sure you've set up your My Rotary account at rotary.org. In many of these categories, I have a report that I can track this, but I'm also asking you to mark that you think you've done it, just so I know to look for your name there. You've set up your other club members with My Rotary accounts. You have all your goals input into Rotary Club Central by June 30th. This is a really important goal, really important task for us, and so it's given 10 entries. For every course you've completed in the Learning Center, you'll receive 2 entries. If you attended this meeting tonight, you'll receive 3 entries. If you watch the recording of the monthly Zooms, and all of them are uploaded into like a private YouTube, where if you have the link, you can watch it. That is a self-reported. Part of our 4-way test is it the truth? So we're hoping for that here. Submitting your strategic plan. We do want you to attach a copy with your submission of this form. Sharing a little bit about your club's history, attending the March Mega and All Ohio Pets events, submitting your 18-month plan that I gave you that document. So if you give us a draft of what you're thinking of, that will give you entries. Interviewing any past president from your club and sharing what you learned. Completing the Rotary Club Health Checklist. Attending One Rotary Summit, which is on February 27th. It's a Saturday morning. It'll be on Zoom. You can register on DACDB, but also asking you to include other members of your club to attend Rotary Club or One Rotary Summit, and then including the number of people who did that. Okay, that's it. Yes. So all of those things will give you entries, and then we will use some very scientific system to make sure we put all of the right amount of entries into the hat and pull one winner for the trip. So I can't wait for somebody to win, and you have to play to win. Is that what they say for the lottery? Yeah, you have to participate. So looking forward to giving that trip away to somebody. So Mary, I'm going to turn it back over to you to wrap up. And then I think what we can do is just in the essence of time, I'll stop the recording, or maybe I'll leave the recording going, but if you need to pop off, that's fine. But if you have any other questions, I can kind of hang around until 8:20, 8:30, and then answer any specific questions you might have. So
one thing, Allison, I think we should mention about a One Rotary Summit coming up in February too. I know we have the February meeting, but maybe so they can get that on that calendar, that's an important
Yes.
thing for them to, because we said that's all part of the points. And so,
Yes, I do have that ready to share here. This was in Keith's newsletter this month, the One Rotary Summit. It's Saturday, February 27th from 9 to noon. This is an annual event we do. Every year the curriculum's a little bit different. There's actually a national planning team that writes the curriculum for this every year. So there's usually new videos and new content. But the whole idea is to just put the connections together between our foundation, public image, and membership. And it's a great event to bring a newer member or a member who is showing passion or excitement, but really could use some additional Rotary knowledge. This is the perfect event to bring some club members to. And it will be done virtually with breakout rooms like we've done before. Okay, now back to you, Mary.
now back to me. Okay, well, I really appreciate all of you being here. I hope you walked away with some really good thoughts as you think about planning your year, having that roadmap and start that planning now, because before you know it, it will be July 1st. And there's no substitute for your enthusiasm as a club president. You are the face of your club, the face of your community, and your members are relying on you. And your members are so very, very important. So take time to get to know them. And if this Zoom thing isn't working, pick up the telephone and give them a call. Let them know that you care, you're excited about planning your Rotary year. Get some of their thoughts. What would they like to see your club do? Maybe they're tired of doing the same old, same old. Maybe they have a great idea and that idea becomes your idea. So again, there's just no substitute for your enthusiasm, for you to have high energy and to lead your clubs well. So I'm just going to leave you with that tonight.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think this concludes our official program, but again, I'm happy to hang on for a while. As always, I will, just as soon as possible, I will send you the YouTube link and what always seems like an excessive amount of attachments and links, but I just want to give you everything you can, knowing you don't have to use all of it, but really, again, appreciate your service to your club right now and in advance. We're gonna have a good year. I do feel that you all have at least a little more reality check going into this year than this year's club presidents had going into theirs. They, Brian can probably speak to that too, but probably thought it would all rally and we'd be back to normal at some point, but they're now really faced with almost an entire virtual year. So,
Allison?
yeah.
There were a few people that mentioned about having a list of speakers that, and we talked about this in our leadership meetings that you've been in attendance with. I understand that there was some problems on DACDB, but there's a place on DACDB where they can all be listed out. And I think that the district secretary was supposed to be working on that. Maybe
Okay.
that's something that we can continue to look into between now and the beginning of the year when the new PEs take over, to try to get that up and running, because there's some kind of problem with it.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like it's definitely probably more necessary now than ever, or more important because travel doesn't matter so much.
No, and the speakers, I see that the people in the chat right now have put a few in there that
Yeah.
are worth looking into.
Yeah, if you have a
okay.
name of a speaker, put it up. Go ahead and start to share that with one another. That's a good way to network with your classmates too. If you visit other clubs via Zoom, I've done that and I've liked the speaker that I've heard. So then I've told my club president, hey, I sat in and this person was really good. So that's another way too. If things aren't really hopping in your area, jump in somewhere else and see if you can steal something, steal an idea, steal a speaker. It's all good. Somebody put up, have a birthday celebration for your club. I think that's a really great idea. Celebrate your club's charter.
Yeah. Yeah, we did once when it was Rotary's birthday, on that day, we took a picture of like the oldest and youngest member in our club with the birthday cake. But you could also do that around your own club's birthday, not just Rotary International's birthday.
Cool.
I also did something where, like I said, if we did something, I would come to a meeting wearing a costume. So I came in wearing like a Batman and Robin. I was Robin from, I didn't think they'd actually do it. And whatever the goal was, they actually made it and I had to deliver.
Had to dress up.
I was all about sacrificing my own dignity for the entertainment of others.
Well, it worked. You had a really great record year when you were president in Perrysburg. It was awesome. There was a question, does it apply to AG? What are we talking about?
Oh, the trip, no, the trip is
No.
for president-elects, if that's what it's for. Yes. That would be nice though, huh?
Yeah. I think there's a good suggestion too, we have a small team to help lead strategic planning for clubs. Is that something clubs struggle with, is identifying a strategic plan and identifying an action plan? As a matter of fact, there's a good article on action plan in this month's Rotary magazine.
But I would say yes, if you think your club can't lead, you can't lead yourself through your strategic plan, which wouldn't be that is can be difficult. I'm sure we could find a past president or a district leader who could come and walk you through that session with their club board.
I think what happens, what I've been experienced is that the clubs have been telling me that they create a strategic plan and then nobody looks at it for 5 years, you know.
That happens too. That happens too.
So everybody probably needs to, blow the dust off of it and open it up and see, why don't we update this, As right now might be a good time to do it too, since there's so many other things you can't do right now.
There is a change coming, right? Because the Rotary magazine is not called the Rotarian magazine.
Right, it's just called Rotary.
Right, and then they now saying that it's Fremont Rotary instead of Fremont Rotary Club. Everything is kind of making it a little bit. I was just there's this hybrid Rotary Facebook group. They've been talking about it, and it's very interesting. And
Well, they voted to stop they want us to get away from saying somebody's a Rotarian and saying that they're a Rotary Club member. And I don't know if I'm certain that it had to do with some sort of research test study. They found that non-Rotarians don't really get the word Rotarian, but Rotary member is a more, I don't know, I guess explains what it is.
straightforward. It's kind of like they don't want to, they just want to straightforward and say Fremont Rotary or Fremont Rotary Club member, that kind of.
Right.
There's definitely a change is coming, not just inside our club, but the resistance of attendance is low at Zoom. We can come up with all kinds of ideas. It's just a group of selective members going to carry on, and the rest is just
Well, the communication with those folks that aren't coming to the meetings because of Zoom, just getting that email or getting that personal phone call is so important, because they're going to come back to us. I've had at least 10 people say, when we get back together face to face, I will be present. And they're paying their dues and they're still interested in knowing, but they're just not going to do what we're doing this evening. And that's okay too, because we are going to come out of this and they matter. They matter. So we're just got to hang on. So keep them informed. Just let them know everything Fremont's doing.
Well, there's also another club under my group. They are actually meeting in person, and they are sitting really 6 feet away from each other, and they have more than what is requirement. And I really applaud to them, because they really want to make their club works, and they're coming together. They're very careful. They, and I support them, and really every club has to do what they can to continue service and continue for themselves right now.
I think what's tricky is we all live in different counties. I mean, our district is vast, northwestern Ohio, from Avon Lake the whole way up to Toledo, down to St. Mary's, and loop around Ashland and that Mansfield area. I mean, we have a large district. So every county is different with what your numbers are. you know, and where your safety is. But we don't want to say that you have to be face to face. I mean, that's a choice that group is making. And maybe their numbers are a 2, where our numbers are a 3 or a 4. So, I mean, it's tough. It's just a tough thing that's going on for sure. But there's still things to be excited about. You know, we're going to finish this year strong. I mean, and then we're going to go on to a new year and a new Rotary International president, a new theme. Just think about some of those themes. I have favorite ones. Maybe some of you do too. How about the one, be a friend? How simple is that? I mean, that is a really good Rotary theme, to be a friend. And how about light up Rotary? I mean, we had the happy clap, and it was Gary Wong was just the most energetic person on the planet. I mean, every theme is different. I mean, you know, peace through service. Now's an important time to talk about peace and understanding. Okay, so how about that? Peace through service. Isn't that a simple theme? So who knows what our theme will be here, but it's coming. We'll know in a couple weeks, and we can start to plan around it.
We actually having the 4-way test contest, the essay, the speech. We actually have Strive program. We actually have literacy reading program. We're our youth program is just carry on.
And is this
I'm surprised.
What school districts is doing that?
Fremont City School.
Fremont, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We do it virtually, but every program is being carried out. Actually, the Strive was the surprise. The high school asked us to step in to do the Strive program because they say the kids needs it, not us, but the kids needs us more than ever.
And some of our districts in our neck of the woods are saying, you know, we don't want you in the school right now. We love your programs, but we just don't want you in the school right now. So it depends on your district and how they're handling this.
So our youth program is 100% on board. So
super.
Yeah, I know. That's at least something that we're encouraging everybody to do it right now. So
I think I heard Dwayne say you want to bring back the happy clap, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you heard? I will tell you, Tony.
Happy clap. It's 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1.
Yeah, it's one of those things though, you know, we talked about, and/or that might be in keeping with the day. I don't know if you can see this. This is when I was an assistant governor for, I think it was Dave Doherty. It was Make Dreams Real. And of course we are today.
Yes, I remember that theme.
Acknowledging Martin Luther King Jr.'s his dream, Make a Dream speech. We're recognizing him as well, if you will.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where I think Rotary, you know, for us and what we do, and I'm just so happy to be a Rotarian, and be able to be part of an organization that does so many great things, regardless of your religious, political, all that kind of stuff. We got to put it aside.
That's
and
right.
Let's just do good things.
That's right.
And it's you know, you watch the news every day and you get so downtrodden by what's going on, you know, what the news will tell us. It's like, oh, come on, really? I know that we're doing great things in Rotary. And that's why one of the reasons that I really love being a Rotarian, because I know what we see on the news every day isn't what's happening. We're making news happen, and we need to get out there and get on the news every day and make positive things happen. It's just, you know, I don't know. I get, you know, it's easy to get frustrated. It's easy to get frustrated.